Welcome back to Jacques in the garden. Another lovely spring day. It is beautiful and the spring garden is looking quite nice. I've got my corn here already developing silks and tassels. I've got tomatoes to harvest, squash to harvest. We've got plants to support, plants to plant, all sorts of different things to do in the garden. And the first thing we're going to start with is actually planting this flat of peppers here. Now I have a brand new bed that was recently prepared. I actually double dug this garden bed alongside with a couple others in the garden. And that is what we're going to be starting with. So let's get these peppers planted. So really quickly on double digging, I'm not going to explain the whole process here, but it's basically adding fresh amendments like mostly compost into your soil while also loosening it very deeply. Now, the reason why I decided to do it in this bed in particular is that I've decided that any bed that underperforms moving forward will get double dug. That is how I started my entire garden in the first place. Every single one of the garden beds around me 5 or 6 years ago was double dug by me. It was a great workout and also it led to really great results. So I figured that after so much time, I might have accumulated some sort of issue. Maybe it's a pest, maybe it's a disease. And double digging is sort of like a soft reset. In some ways, it's a hard reset because you aren't messing with the soil. But needless to say, I had a very underperforming bed of garlic here, which I pulled early. And all that garlic was about half the size that I really wanted it to be. So that is why it got double dug. And now it is going to get replaced with peppers. Now, if you're wondering why peppers in this bed, this is one of the shadier parts of my garden. And peppers love to get sunburns. And in particular, bell peppers. They always get sun scalded, they get those little burn spots, kind of ruins the whole experience and sometimes literally makes it rot before it ripens. So I figured this garden might actually be really good for peppers. Now, how are we going to actually space this out? Well, historically, what I did last year that sort of didn't work out in the long run was trying to do this idea where you plant peppers really close together at 12 inches so that the leaves are touching. What that does is it shades each other, you get less sun scald, maybe better pollination. But honestly, I don't really think the juice is worth the squeeze. I didn't get anything substantially better out of that system. In fact, once it got quite old after like 4 months, they got so crowded, I started to get actual disease issues. So this year, it might not sound like a lot, but I'm going to be stepping it from 12 inches out to 16. But that's not it, because historically what I did in the past was I did 12 in every single direction or 16 in every direction. I try to put stuff in the middle. This time I'm not. I'm going to have 2 simple rows of peppers running down the edges of the bed, and then we'll pop over to my seedling table and find something suitable to plant down the middle. So this bed is just under 7 feet in length, which means that I'll only be able to fit about 12 peppers in it, which does not seem like enough. I really am struggling with this idea of planting less, but here we are, we're going to be doing it anyway. So the 3 peppers we're going to be putting in are Ace, Olympus Bell, and Peace Bell. All of these are peppers that were described as doing well in cooler climates that have more disease resistance. So these are the final selections for my bells this year in terms of hybrids that I really want to test. Actually, the Peace Bell, I don't believe that one is a hybrid. I think that's an heirloom that's been carefully bred. So let's go ahead and pop these in the ground. Now this bed was prepared with some amount of fertilizer, but since I want these peppers to have their best possible chance of success, I'm going to be putting in some of the Fox Farm Happy Frog tomato and vegetable fertilizer in each hole. So I'm gonna just go down the line. I'm gonna plant them 4, 4, and 4, and then we'll go get some new seedlings. So remember, whenever you remove seedlings, I think it's best to give them a light smack like that. It really helps loosen up the soil and allows your plug to pop out really easy. Oh, and each pepper is going to get a stake, and then I already have some string right here. This year, I am staking every single pepper as it goes into the ground so I don't end up doing it too late. And now in my experience, I do think that a single stake with a single tie early on in the season can get you through most of the year. I think some peppers branch a little bit more heavily and they might need additional support, but for the most part, this is all I really feel like I need. Unfortunately, this last one here is quite tiny. I'm gonna just go ahead and plant it, even though it's in the worst possible position, furthest from the sun, all the way back here. So wish it luck, it might not make it. So this is only a fraction of my seedlings here, and you might think, wow, that's a big tomato, but that's not even the big one. I've got multiple flats over there of some big boys that we may or may not get to today. But for this particular bed where we already have these peppers placed, I figured some beautiful lettuce would do really well in these sort of in-between zones. The peppers are never gonna get that big. They're not gonna grow very quickly. So I could easily plant lettuce around them and make use of that space until they fill out. And for the central sort of middle section, I kind of want to sneak some sort of big flower in there. I'm not really sure which one. I've got some zinnias that I could go with. I've obviously got a ton of marigolds, but I want to save those for the tomato areas. So I think in this case, what we're going to do here is, I'll do one of these Rubenza Cosmos. That's one of the really pretty sort of pinkish, almost purpley. It's kind of apricot-y. I actually can't even remember now. I'm picturing pink. I think that's the right color. And so to balance that, what we want is a zinnia of a different color. So I've got a red zinnia here, the cactus. That probably won't be the best sort of contrast. And I've got the Queenie Lime, which I think would actually do fantastic. So I got Queenie Lime, Rubenza, and a whole bunch of lettuce. Let's get these interplanted with our pepper plants. So while we were back there, I thought for sure I would have enough space to shove a flower like right in the middle of all these pepper plants. But now that I'm down here, I just don't think that would be a wise decision. I think it would actually be borderline irresponsible. So instead, what we're going to do here is just go ahead and plant the lettuce. The lettuce never gets that tall, it doesn't get that bushy, it shouldn't outcompete anything. It should never really outcompete anything. So what we're going to do here instead is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just put lettuce down the middle. I wanna really give these peppers a chance this year. So let's go ahead and take the most mature one. I've got this beautiful butter lettuce here, I believe. Oh, actually this is Summer Crisp. I actually haven't tried growing this one. So what I'll do is I'll pop them a little bit loose. These ones are all individual already. I think I pricked these out of a previous cell and sort of transplanted them into their own 6 cells so they would size up nicely. And this is what we have. We have like a pretty ideal individual lettuce seedling here, good size to it, nice roots. This should do really well. So what I'm going to do here is find the middle of my bed, make a little divot with my finger because it's just a 6 cell, they're not that big, and go ahead and plant my lettuce right in there. And we'll go all the way down the middle here. In terms of spacing, I'm probably going to go to about 12 inches. So now we have this bed entirely planted out with a combination of lettuce and peppers. It looks pretty good right now. I think generally I would have stuffed it way more, but I'm just glad that I didn't. This is a new practice for me to not overfill garden beds. And I think I finally have done it. There was multiple times where I was tempted, maybe I'll just drop in a marigold there. Maybe I'll put some lettuce on every single other edge. No, we're playing it safe this year. So this bed is complete. Let's take a little harvest break because I see some summer squash right over there that looks like it's just about ready. Right over here, we have 2 summer squash plants. I have one on this side of the bed and one on the other, and both of them have a squash that is just about ready to be harvested. Now, in theory, I could wait another day or two, but that first summer squash, before you get overloaded, it's really exciting and it's really quite delicious. It makes zucchini once again exciting, at least for me. So over here on this side, we have the Duriani squash. This is a Lebanese Kusa style squash. The nice thing about this one is that it's very, very sort of tender. It's not watery. It's got a dense, kind of nutty, almost like, I don't know how else to describe it besides like nutty, almost like chestnutty, but very dense, very creamy, very delicious. You can see this one's quite young actually because the flower is still on there. So I'll go ahead and remove that. And right there, we've got ourselves a perfect young style summer squash. This is about the youngest I would generally harvest them, unless of course I was to harvest them as babies. Now, the other thing I want to show you guys here is that I don't want to leave my squash growing as it is, like where it's just sprawling out to one side. I am going to be staking and growing all of my summer squash vertically this year. So I decided to go ahead and get some of these redwood stakes. I get these at my local nursery for, I think they're about $1.50 each, maybe $1.25. The thing I like about this over bamboo is that since it has a flat face, it's easier to support plants without them sort of twisting and sliding all around the support. So what we want to do here is I'll have to come into the base first and trim off some of the lower leaves, and then we'll stand it up and tie it to the stake. So here we are with the second squash. This variety is called Mexicana. It is more similar to those pale squash that you see at the Mexican grocery stores. In looks, it is similar to Duriani or Lebanese style squash, but I have not tried this one, so I cannot speak to it. We'll see how it does this year. But I could already tell that it's a very productive variety because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 fruit already forming on there. So as you can see, it's starting to grow out into the pathway, and I definitely want to remedy that. So I'm going to pick up the whole plant like that, take a stake here, angle it a little bit, and then get it nice and deep in there, just like so. And then what we're going to do here is give it a nice loose wrap all around the base. Try to get right underneath a leaf. That'll give you a nice firm point that you could kind of tug on without damaging the rest of the plant. Then we'll come in and do a nice simple double overhand. So early in the season, this method doesn't really look all that spectacular, but here's what's going to happen in the long run when growing your squash vertical. Well, first, what we want to do is prune any of these leaves that are beneath the current most ripening squash, like this one. And what that's going to do is clear out the bottom with the oldest leaves, and those are the ones that are going to be most likely to get disease. The other thing this will do is open up airflow into the plant and just prevent more disease in the first place. So we're going to go ahead, give this one a nice easy trim here, not too much, just like that. Now there's no leaves touching the soil, there's no leaves below this current squash, and it should do really, really well. So now I have to do that over on the other side, but I do want to pop over to a different bed because we have more squash to harvest. So over here in this bed, I've got a really packed situation. I've got a bunch of chard over here, the perpetual spinach, some beautiful snapdragons, and of course, more summer squash, and also a winter melon, or not winter melon, I don't know why I said that, just a melon, like cantaloupe. I don't remember which one exactly it is there. But what I have over here is my favorite summer squash, at least my favorite yellow one now. My favorite green one is Emerald Delight. My favorite yellow is called Tempest. It is not like anything special. It's got some ribs on it. It's not like a totally round, smooth squash, but I don't know what it is about this one. It is so delicious. I've never had a tastier yellow type of summer squash before. Quickly became our favorite last year, so I'm definitely growing at least 2 of these for this season. So it's also another prolific plant. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on there currently, not counting the one that I just harvested. And we're gonna do the same thing here. What I wanna do is, since this squash is basically right smack dab in the middle of the bed, I'm going to just set it up to go straight up vertical. No angle to it, nothing unique, just right on the money, straight shot. So there we go. Now I just need to tie it up, prune it, and we should be good to go. But let's move on to the next task. I think that's enough summer squash for one day. These 3 tomato plants right here are the very first ones that I planted in ground, and I've been actually harvesting some sun gold tomatoes off them for at least a couple weeks now. And boy, are they delicious. They are so good. So what I have going here is a sun gold, and I've got a early girl, and I believe this was either a champion or a big beef. Now, all of them have harvested off of them before. I've pulled 1 tomato off of this, 3 tomatoes off of this one. In fact, I'll even pull off this one because it has almost all of its color. It's right about 70 to 80%. At this point, there's literally no difference on whether you leave it to ripen on the vine or not. This is going to be an absolutely delicious tomato tomorrow morning. So the way I've been doing this, and the setup here, is 2 strands per tomato plant. So I have 2 strings going down to the base of each plant. And then what I've been trying to do is to basically prune off any of these extra suckers. So this one right here, it's got to go just like that. And we're just going to leave those 2 main stems. Now, the end goal for this is not to have these tomato plants produce all season long. Once it reaches the top of this trellis here, I'll probably go ahead and top them and allow the rest of the fruit to ripen, and then I'll remove these plants. These are just here to give me some early production in the season. Otherwise, they'd block too much light into the main garden, and honestly, since they were planted so early, they'll end up with too much disease in the long run. So for now, these guys are cranking, they're producing, they're giving me some wonderfully delicious produce, but they will not be here for the entirety of the year. I'm just thankful that I'm able to enjoy these harvests for these next couple of months. So it's been a while since I've given you an update on this bed that we planted together, I want to say about a month ago. Remember, at that point, I direct seeded these 2 rows of beans, which now have flowers and are beginning to produce. I transplanted some of these peppers in, and actually, I see a couple huge ones down the line over there that are looking really good. I also now, since then, have added peas on the back, which are now harvestable 100%, and also all these tomatoes back here, including a brand new trellis. Now, this snapdragon was existing. It just looks better now. So overall, I've got beans, peppers, you can't see in between, but I also have some romaine lettuce hidden, some tomatoes, and also peas. This is a loaded bed producing a ton of food in a small 4x8 space. I'm predicting to get just oodles and oodles and oodles of beans. As soon as those peas are done at the back end there, I'll even throw in another 2 tomatoes. So looking pretty good. I'm very pleased with the results of this bed so far. So don't worry, we'll talk about this beautiful golden stuff in a moment here. But first I want to draw your attention to this bed over here. This is one that I think we planted at the same time I direct sowed those beans in the earlier bed. And look at this, guys. It is absolutely chock full of shishitos. So what I'm going to do here is, this is going to be the first pepper harvest of the year. not even May, guys, and we're already pulling crazy amounts of shishitos here. So let's see how many we get after this harvest. So all this right here, guys, is from a single one of these shishito plants here. And now that I think about it, these were planted quite tight compared to the ones that we just did. These are only 12 inches apart, and I have 6 shishito plants in here. So right here is already enough for a single person. So I don't think I'll actually harvest all of these today because it might overwhelm us, but incredible harvest for this time of year. So here we are over in the other garden, and you can see just how weird this season has been. It's not even May, yet my wheat here is almost entirely fully dried, golden brown. It'll probably be ready to harvest next week. I see a touch of green here. And speaking of ready to harvest, look at this. This is my garlic patch, which you might have noticed looks a little bit thin, like there's some patches missing, and that's because there are. I've been harvesting garlic out of this already. Basically, any of the plants here that appear to have like over half of their leaves essentially turn brown, I'm beginning to pull. So I'm just looking right now for a good example of one. That's not bad. Oh gosh, that is huge. So this is one of these soft neck varieties. Let me go pull a hard neck. Wow. So here's what we're looking with. This is a hard neck garlic here. Pretty good sized head, if I do say so myself. Soft neck garlic here, pretty good sized head. So we're getting good garlic here. It's really interesting because, like I said, it's not even May, and yet already all of these harvests are already ready to be pulled. And what's incredible about this is that this garlic was planted sometime in like the very beginning of January. So it's not even been in the ground for 5 months, and it's already matured and ready to harvest. So pretty incredible stuff here. The season's just so warm. It's just pushing everything to be ready much sooner than ever. I've already harvested tomatoes, I've already harvested peppers, I've already harvested garlic. And right over there, you might be able to see it on the edge of the screen, the peaches are already forming. And not only are they forming, but they're quite large, they have color. And I wouldn't be surprised if they'll be ready to harvest within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So pretty rapid season this year. I hope all of you guys are keeping your pants on, and that's why I put my overalls on, because things are going way too fast. I need as much support as I could possibly get. And it's gonna be an interesting year to see how everything plants in, how everything grows. Are we gonna have a mild summer? Are we gonna have a hot summer? I don't know. But all we need to do as gardeners is get prepared, do the work, get our plants in the ground, and hope for the best. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your garlic harvest. Mine's basically here, and I hope you have a great year.